First tonight, a weather impact alert as people recover from Friday's tornado. More storms are moving in. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Kelly Jackson. Ann Allred has the night off.
And I'm Mike Bush. Fortunately, these storms aren't anywhere near what we saw on Friday. So let's begin our coverage with Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell. Scott.
And they're nowhere near St. Louis right now either. We're waiting on them to get here. It looks like it's happening later this evening, but from now until about 3 o'clock tomorrow morning, we are in our weather impact alert. We're hoping we'll get it wound down around midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, maybe sooner. Still, everything's on the table. Hail, strong winds. We can't rule out a tornado or two. The important thing now is to make sure your phones are charged, make sure you have ways to get those warnings, multiple ways, and be ready to act fast in case you do get a warning. Here's what the radar looks like out to our west. Those thunderstorms, there's really 3 distinct clusters here that we're seeing developing across the region. They're lifting to the northeast, and we're starting to see some development here down over the Ozarks too that's lifting northbound. Nothing really extreme at this point that's anywhere close to us, but these storms out in western Missouri are certainly packing a punch. And here's kind of a general idea of what we're looking at. We're thinking the main push is going to be later on tonight towards 9, 10 o'clock. Not that we won't have a storm sooner than that, but towards 9 or 10 o'clock. We'll keep checking on it. We'll keep tabs on the radar. We'll be with you all evening on 5+.
The National Weather Service is giving us a clearer picture of Friday's tornado, both its scope and strength. The tornado carved a 23-mile path with peak winds reaching 152 miles per hour. It first developed near Clayton, measuring nearly a mile wide at that point. From there, it tracked through Richmond Heights, Forest Park, the Central West End, and North St. Louis before crossing the river into Granite City and Pontoon Beach. The tornado finally fell apart near Southern Illinois University in Edwardsville. We have crews in both St. Louis City and County. Let's start with our political editor, Mark Maxwell. Just within the past hour, a stunning admission from the St. Louis City leaders facing criticism over their storm response. Mark.
Kelly, entire swaths of North St. Louis are still stunned by the force, but especially the speed of Friday's storms. I don't think anyone could have predicted just how quickly and furiously that tornado could have twisted through and left that trail of danger and devastation. As you mentioned just moments ago, Mayor Kara Spencer stepped up to the mic and delivered a stunning confession.
The sirens were not deployed in a way that they should be. They should have been.
So some went off, some didn't?
It's not exactly clear, okay, Mark, but I will tell you that there was a failure.
Does that mean someone just didn't push a button? Can you elaborate?
I believe that's exactly what happened, Mark. A button wasn't pushed and the sirens were not deployed.
The sirens were not deployed in a moment when every second mattered. We know now that Mayor Spencer is seeking accountability and pledging to repair and simplify the protocols going forward. But look, 4 days now into this recovery, and despair for thousands of people in North St. Louis is swelling into frustration for people in desperate need of immediate relief.
Excuse the house, I'm not like this.
Keeping a tidy house normally fills Donna Darris with pride, but Friday, it was her house that filled her with dread.
The house was shaking. I mean, shaking like it was dancing. I ran into the bathroom, closed the door, and just like it started, it stopped instantly.
Now, the holes in her home and in her heart fill her with something else.
Sadness. I cried all day Friday.
All she can do now?
Pray. I'm all out of tears.
Her prayer is for someone to show up soon.
I need some help getting this tore up. I want my front covered.
She wants to protect what's left of her memories.
The only thing in there was valuable was my daughter's wedding dress, and we were going to donate that, but now we got to throw it away.
Initially, she thought help was on the way.
The people that own this house, Friday, they was waiting on somebody to come and board my front up. They never came.
She's slept on the couch every night since to secure her belongings.
I don't want the looters in, because they're out here.
Should they send in the National Guard?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes.
Outside the church, just down the street, a pastor and retired Army soldier pick up brick by brick. And at a high-rise public housing apartment complex,
no elevators was working, no lights was working.
Lexi and her boyfriend Trey recounted days of despair for their wheelchair-bound neighbors.
There was no water or no type of power at all. So most of the people was either stuck in their units if you could not physically walk down the steps.
Their prayer echoed Donna's.
Should they send in the National Guard?
Yes. Yes.
We need all the help we can get. We've seen a lot of people come out and help, but we need more people.
So we brought those pleas to U.S. Senator Josh Hawley.
Would you call on the president or the governor, maybe more appropriately, to send and surge manpower, National Guardsmen and women here now?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think, Mark, the governor is running this relief and recovery operation. I think he's doing a really good job. The Guard may be something he may want to consider, to your point. There's a lot of debris. There's a lot of need out there. I will defer to him on that. It's his decision as to whether or not to mobilize the Guard.
Could you use the manpower?
We could absolutely use the manpower. Look, our folks have been working around the clock for 48 hours now, and they have done an incredible amount of work, but there is so much more work to be done. We absolutely need the manpower, and it could absolutely be helpful, and we reiterate that request.
And when we go through North St. Louis, we hear that question on dozens of people's lips. Where is FEMA? Where is the National Guard? After we started asking those questions today, Governor Mike Kehoe telling us that they will send a National Guardsman liaison to the local and state officials tomorrow to see if they can find an appropriate mission to deploy those National Guardsmen on. And a source familiar and close to these conversations also tells us city, state, and federal officials will also convene with FEMA officials tomorrow looking for additional ways to finally surge those boots on the ground. A lot more to come. For now, live in St. Louis, Mark Maxwell, 5 on your side.
Tonight we are learning about another person killed in the tornado in the Fountain Park neighborhood in St. Louis. A 60-year-old woman was trying to take shelter when her house collapsed on her. 5 on your side's Megan Kernan talked to her family and is live in North City tonight.
Kelly, I'm standing in front of what used to be a 3-story home, now reduced to rubble. For the first time, we're learning from her family that the 4th person killed in Friday's tornado was Renee Lyles, a wife, a mother of 5, a grandmother, and a pillar in this community who was just trying to get to safety.
I never expected on the 16th my mother will be gone.
Sierra Scott lost her best friend. Her mom, 60-year-old Renee Lyles, was killed underneath all this rubble.
It's really hard because we don't even have like little things to remember her by because it's all gone.
When the tornado tore through Bayard Avenue in Fountain Park, Renee and her husband Alan were trying to take shelter. Renee and Alan were holding hands, about to walk down to the basement when the tornado ripped through.
It threw my mom backwards and it threw him like down on the basement steps. So once she got hit backwards, the dresser fell on top of her and then the house collapsed on her. It was a 3-level house, so once the house crumbled down on them, someone came and pulled him out, but he could not find my mom. So after some hours, they finally dug my mom out, and when they dug her out, she was gone.
Sierra says her dad, a pastor, was praying she would make it out alive.
This was his love of his life. They was married for 25 years. Like, that was his all. That was his heart. That was his queen.
This was their family home since Renee was 9 years old. Now, it's a pile of bricks.
It's so hard just knowing that the only house that you have stayed in is gone. The only thing that you had as a family to remember is gone. Every part of my mom is gone.
Her parents were the block captains on this street. Neighbors tell me Renee was the heart of this block who never hesitated to lend a hand. Now her 5 daughters are left grieving and planning her funeral. Live in North St. Louis, Megan Kernan, 5 on your side.
Here's some drone video that will give you an idea of the devastation in North St. Louis. Thousands of homes have been damaged. Chase Howell from our sister station in Atlanta has spent all day talking with neighbors here in St. Louis. And Chase, what have they been telling you?
Mike, well, if you talk to the people I did, they tell you they're blessed to be alive, and blessed because it could have been a lot worse. I mean, take a look behind me. This was once a 3-story home, and now it's just a pile of debris. I mean, it's almost like this house imploded if you think about how all these bricks just went scattered across this lawn. Now I want to take you over here. Think about how incredible this tornado movement was. I mean, it's like it clipped this home over here, came over to the home I just showed you, and just completely demolished it and just made its way up the road. Now, I spoke to Miss Stacy Nash, who's lived in this neighborhood for 65 years, and she talked to me about the moment her windows basically blew out and her lights went out, and this is what she says happened next.
It wasn't a regular wind. It was like biblical gush of wind come through the whole entire house, bringing in dirt, debris, trees, and everything, and bricks and things I can hear falling and crashing to the ground.
Yeah, and those bricks were actually from her home. If you take a look up over here, the house I showed you a little bit ago that's now tarped off is completely gone from the back over here. But thankfully, again, she was able to get that tarped before the rain that's supposed to be coming in tonight. And at 10, you're going to hear from other people in this neighborhood, along with those trying to help out. Live on St. Louis's north side, Chase Howell, 5 on your side.
Parts of St. Louis County also hit hard. Just 2 hours ago, St. Louis County leaders gave an update on storm response. People in parts of Clayton and Richmond Heights have been without power since Friday. 5 on your side's Laura Barcheski is live at Big Bend and Wydown, where that street is closed. Laura.
Mike, Big Bend is closed from Wydown all the way to Clayton, so these power crews can sift through all of these trees that are tangled up in all of the power lines over here, causing a lot of problems for people. And at this intersection, too, it's a perfect example of what city officials say is a big problem. These street lights are out. They're completely out, and we need to treat them all as stop signs. That goes for everywhere that's in a disaster zone. There are still a lot of people without power, a lot of intersections without power, and County Executive Sam Page says a lot of the damage is tree related. We saw loads of tree debris being trucked out of this area. So far, they've removed 50 tons of it. But obviously there's so much they couldn't get to, and they want homeowners to do what they can before more storms move in.
You know, if you have dangling tree branches, if you can deal with that before this rolls in. The packet that I saw, the most recent one from the National Weather Service, did mention high winds. My suggestion is secure what you can, even if it means throwing it in your garage and closing the door, and it keeps it from becoming a projectile.
If you are in need of shelter, you need to get to that before the storm hits. The nearest one in St. Louis County is in University City. That is at Refresh Community Church on North Hanley Road. Reporting live in St. Louis County, Laura Barcheski, 5 on your side.
United Way of Greater St. Louis is stepping up to help in tornado relief. The organization says it wants to ensure no one is facing the storm's impact alone. It is working with more than 160 St. Louis nonprofits to make this happen. And organizers want you to know that if you donate to United Way, all of it stays in St. Louis.
Not only do they stay here in the St. Louis community, but they are used specifically for this disaster recovery. And we're able to do that because we have the everyday infrastructure covered. When you make a gift for storm recovery through the United Way, 100% of it goes to storm recovery.
If you would like to donate, scan the QR code right on your screen. It will take you to the United Way Severe Storm and Tornado Relief Fund website. You can give as much or as little as you'd like.